Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Alona with Spiritual Giant, and I wanted to just continue the conversation from yesterday about this week's reading. Even if you didn't watch the reading from yesterday, you can still follow along in, the part of our journey where now is the time for us to deal with the shadow side and, to really look at what needs to be revealed as far as the healing is concerned. And the card that I pulled today from The Universe Has Your Back says, I am a spirit having a human experience, and I'm here to get closer to love. What I like about that is, it is so true that, as a soul, the bigger part of us is a soul that is eternal. It's never born and it doesn't die. Our physical bodies are here temporarily having this experience in school or earth, as we call it. And, the purpose is to get back to love. It's to come in, to create these experiences, create this soul growth, and then come back to oneness, come back to love. This journey for me is about helping people shift their perspective from things happening to them to things happening for them, to understanding that it is just a matter of changing the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. And you do have complete control over it. And we have this opportunity in this experience to be a host to God, host to our source, or a hostage to our ego. And that's really what this is about. So on Facebook yesterday, Spiritual Giant OBX, I posted a really great photo that had some stuff on it that I found somewhere. And I got a lot of feedback on it. So I wanted to do the talk about it, since this week's reading was really about what needs to be revealed. And it started out with saying, what is a trigger? And, our natural state is calm, energy, love, flow, ease, all of those things. A natural state is either a neutral or higher vibration. Okay? If we're getting triggered, then we might find ourselves in that lower vibration. And so the first question was, what is a trigger? And really and truly, a trigger is just an unhealed wound. So if you think about it, when you were a kid, let's say your dad threw you into the swimming pool and you didn't know how to swim, you panicked, you almost drowned, and now you never want to go swimming again. That's a trigger. It doesn't mean that you can't swim. Of course you can swim. Human beings can swim. It just means that you have an unhealed wound around swimming, and so every time you think about swimming, or every time you go swimming, or you go to the beach, or you go to a pool, you might feel that anxiety because it's an unhealed wound that comes up. And we experience these things throughout our lives, and the first 7 years of our lives we're basically being programmed because our minds stay in sort of a lower vibration, and so it's really all about collecting data in those first 7 years. That doesn't mean you're not still collecting data afterwards, but those are the most impactful times of the programs being solidified. And that's really how you're going to base your experiences, because your subconscious mind collects data. It does not have free will. It doesn't get to decide what it thinks about the things that it's storing. It's simply a data collection pool. And your conscious mind, of course, you have free will over, so you can decide what you want to say, how you want to feel, what you want to do. But the subconscious mind is only there to collect the information, and it will store whatever you put there. It doesn't care. It does not have a say in it. Okay, it's going to store what you put there, which is good, because if bad things were put there, you can pull them out and put new things. So that's why it's really important to look at this as a process, as a school, as a learning environment, because that's what our souls are here to do. So trigger is just an unhealed wound. So the first step in dealing with this process, it said, is number one, feel it, breathe it, and pause. Okay, there's this saying that goes around that says you have to feel it to heal it. And, we have been programmed that, don't let them upset you. Don't feel bad about that. Don't cry. Be strong. Work through it. You can do it. And the truth is that if you do still have things planted in the subconscious that can create misalignment or a lower vibration that still need to be healed, then not processing those emotions is really a detriment, because those emotions are energy and our bodies are physically dense and our cells respond to energy. And so if you look at the number one killer in our society, it's anxiety. And what's the cure for anxiety? There's no pill to cure anxiety unless you want to go comatose, then you never feel anything. Sure, cure the anxiety. But to cure the anxiety is to understand that you are allowed to feel and breathe. You just don't want to live there. So, we have to erase this program that says when you have an emotion to just ignore it, to stuff it away. No, feel through it. Allow it, okay? When we stuff it down, that energy gets stuck into our physical bodies, gets stuck into our cells, and that's when we manifest dis-ease, okay? Now, the second step is to observe, which means not reacting. It means observing. Okay, so you have a trigger. You've got this unhealed wound that is showing up in an emotional response to something that has occurred. Okay, so first thing is to feel it, allow it to come up, say, okay, here we are. I'm feeling this. Then instead of attaching to it and riding the whole emotional roller coaster into a complete meltdown, anxiety attack, and so forth, next step you want to just then become the observer, okay? Now, what's really important about this particular step is that you really have to accept the concept that you are not your thoughts, okay? Your beliefs are only thoughts you've had over and over again. You are not your thoughts. Do you remember as a kid when you would say, I don't know if your dad did this, but my dad did this all the time because, he thought he was really funny, and he really was. But I would say, I'm hungry. And he'd say, hi, hungry, I'm Dad. Remember that? Because we are not hungry or angry or mad. Those are simply experiences. Those are emotions that we are experiencing, but it's not who you are. Okay, so it's important when you're in the observing mode to remember you are not your feelings. You're simply experiencing them. You, the bigger part of you, is a divine soul. The bigger part of you is pure light, love, energy. And it's not your ego. Your thoughts belong in your ego. You are separate from that. The bigger part of you is separate from that. Okay? So remember, don't say, I'm angry, because someone's going to say, oh, hi, angry, I'm Ilona. You are not angry. You are experiencing an emotion called anger. Okay? But that's how you really observe. You separate yourself from your thoughts. Now, in some of the soul coaching that I do, and I might do a video about this, there's a couple of different methods that you can get into that will teach you how to become the observer of your thoughts, which really gives you control. And we go back to being a host to your source instead of a hostage to your ego. And that's a really important step in this if you really want to heal these triggers, heal these wounds, is understanding that you are the observer of your thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. Okay? Step 3 is then to reprogram the subconscious. Okay, which remember, subconscious does not discriminate, does not have free will. Whatever you put there is what will stay there. So in order to reprogram the subconscious, you really have to allow it and say, okay, that's interesting. This is interesting. What can I learn from this? I'm grateful for this. What is this teaching me? Okay, where can I go in and give myself some love? And really, in order to reprogram the subconscious, okay, it's all about shifting your perspective from what if what's going on isn't wrong? What if it's not wrong? Okay, what if what's going on is here to teach you? Okay, so if you can look at it from that perspective, then the subconscious starts to take on that as an experience that when something brings out contrast, if you will, okay, contrast is part of the formula. Contrast is not bad, because in order to know what you do want, you have to be really first very clear on what it is that you don't want. And so contrast in your experience is really beneficial, because you can look at it and say, here's something I don't want, which now helps me solidify what I do want. And this is obviously showing up because I'm attracting it. And so if I'm attracting it into my experience, what is it here to teach me? You see, and so once we start cleaning out the old wounds, and we start programming the subconscious that if contrast shows up, it's a good thing, then we don't get triggered anymore. Then we understand that this contrast is here to teach us, and that it's not wrong, and that feeling shame or guilt about a human experience is not bringing us closer to love. Okay? These are human experiences that we signed up for. They're supposed to happen. That we're supposed to go through these things for soul growth. And if we can program the subconscious that it's okay, that it's not, what if it's not wrong, but it's absolutely what we need at the moment, then we don't get triggered, and we start programming the subconscious that it's okay. Okay? So step 4 is to then form a new relationship with your emotions as a form of feedback. Okay? So remember we said earlier, in order to heal, you have to feel. Well, in this step, we now look at it one step further and say, in order to heal, you have to be sick. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, so we do need to go through and sort of reprogram, heal those old wounds, shift our perspective, but we don't have to continue healing if we no longer get sick, you see? And so if we can reestablish the new relationship with our emotions as they're for us, as a new perspective of growth and opportunity, instead of shame and guilt and sadness and anger, then we don't necessarily have to heal anymore, because we're not finding ourselves sick. Okay? Here's a question that you can ask yourself when this shows up at step number 4. And I really love this question. It says, what must I believe to be true in order to be experiencing this? Okay? You see, when we get to step 4, it's all about understanding that you physically cannot experience anything in this universe that you did not first attract to you. So what must you believe to be true in order for these things to exist? Okay, because it's only true if you believe it. When we look at quantum physics, they proved that the observer, how it's observed, changes the outcome. You see, that there is no such thing as evil or energy that's not good. There's no such thing as bad energy. Now, we're not talking about positive and negative ions and all of those kinds of things. We're talking about energy, situations, experiences that are perceived to be bad. In quantum physics, they proved it's all about the observer. And so that's where this question becomes super important. What must I believe to be true in order to be experiencing this? And that's where at number 4 you say, it doesn't matter. Once we've gone through number 3 and we've reprogrammed our subconscious to understand that all of these things are happening for us, that's when we can get to step 4. We can create a new relationship and say, no matter what it is, I choose to be happy. I want to be happy. I want to be happy. 5 words. No matter what you're going through, you have the opportunity to say, I'm looking at this situation. I'm recognizing that I feel this emotion. I'm observing it. I'm now choosing I want to be happy. And then that brings us to step 5, which is we release and move forward. And then we thank the opportunity, because gratitude in this universe is everything. What you focus on expands. What you focus on expands. That is the law, just like the law of gravity. Nobody's flying off the planet because the law of gravity keeps us here. What you focus on expands. So be in the state of gratitude. That's the final step. Release. Say, I want to be happy. Thank you for coming. And I am so grateful for this experience. I am so grateful for this opportunity. I am so grateful for this soul growth. Because the truth is that the energy moving, the situation moving, one person can observe it one way and another person observes it another way. It is your choice. That's why they say, there's 2 sides. There's, I can't remember the specific cliche that, that people, I'm sure you guys are thinking of it right now. There's 2 ways to see things all the time. Okay. And this is your opportunity in number 4 really. And then number 5 is to release it and move forward in gratitude. And so I leave you with that. In gratitude, I thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe if you have not already. And I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. I want to hear from you. Thank you so much. Namaste.